Alright, welcome back to another Art of War 3 replay. I'm your host, John Cena, and today we're going to be doing a 2v2 battle here. I'm going to be going with my partner, PaleRider. PaleRider is going to be the green player, and I am going to be the blue player. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to be facing off against two resistance players here, and we got some early action going on with scouting happening around the map, trying to secure those containers. I've actually got some assaults at the front of Red's base, just putting on some early game pressure. Let's see how Red responds to this. Looks like Red's going to send a coyote and a couple riflemen, and is going to drop down a sniper tower. So I'm going to go ahead and retreat. I don't quite have the firepower to fight this coyote, so I'm going to lose the engagement there. Meanwhile, PaleRider moving in some assaults to fight for that container for resources. And we can see here, I'm just continuing to develop my base here. And PaleRider is going to be able to get some forces into there to secure that resource container nicely. Trying to get a scout on the yellow player, it's going to get denied by that sniper tower. But PaleRider is going to be able to secure those resources. Meanwhile, I've got a cyclone out just to get a little bit of visual over the cliff to see if I'm going to get attacked or not. I'm still HQ2 at this point, but now I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to HQ3. Here comes two coyotes from the red player coming in to scout my base here. I've got a hammer out and a cyclone though, so I'm going to be able to clean up those coyotes no problem. Another coyote coming in, getting another scout on my base. I'm just continuing to drop down some more infrastructure, going to clean up that coyote again. Meanwhile, my partner, PaleRider, is already HQ3, and looks like PaleRider is going to be getting in some vertex for some air support. So I'm going to move my cyclone over to the middle of the map, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and scout the red player's base. Let's see what Red is up to. We see an airfield. This immediately tells us that we're going to see some hawks pretty soon here. Red is HQ3 with 8 supply centers, so looks like Red's a little more developed than I am in the infrastructure. We see one dragonfly from the red player. That dragonfly is not too strong though, so my cyclone's going to be able to take the hits and escape relatively undamaged. PaleRider continuing to put down infrastructure. Looks like PaleRider is going for a 6 supply center build. My cyclone's now getting a scout onto the yellow player's base. Let's see what yellow's up to. Yellow is also HQ3, as 2 assault vehicle factories and a special vehicle factory for porcupines. We can see here that yellow only has a handful of ground units, so I think PaleRider's plan is he's going to move up some troops, and looks like PaleRider is going for an HQ3 land army build. Meanwhile, I'm going to go for a land army build as well, but I'm going to get out some Typhoons to provide some anti-air support against those hawks. And here we go. PaleRider making a push onto the yellow player's base. Yellow is trying to drop down some sniper towers. Yellow's only got a few troops right now and 1 sniper tower to defend. And here comes PaleRider. PaleRider's got 4 hammers, some assaults, a Zeus, and a fortress. So a little bit of early game combat unfolding. Let's see how this plays out. That sniper tower continuing to be constructed by the yellow player. Yellow's only got 4 armadillos though, and PaleRider's got the armor advantage. A second Zeus is coming in. Looks like we get a fire assault as well. So PaleRider's dishing out some good damage here. All those sniper towers have been cleaned up. Meanwhile, my ground troops are now moving into the center area. Here comes some hawks from the red player. Red trying to provide some air support for their ally. Yellow's in a little bit of trouble here. Vertex coming in for PaleRider. It looks like they're going to be able to take out that porcupine. And we see some jaguars starting to come out for the yellow player. Red's continuing to dish out damage onto PaleRider's ground forces. Meanwhile, these Vertex are dishing out some good damage against the jaguars coming out of the factories. And we're going to see if PaleRider is going to be able to finish off this special vehicle factory. That special vehicle factory is going to go down. Meanwhile, my troops are in the center of the map. We're going to go ahead and secure some nice resources for base development and unit production. So we got more units reinforcing from PaleRider. PaleRider's troops moving in to put more pressure onto the yellow player. I'm going to move my ground army onto the plateau so we get some visual control. We can see here some grenadiers and a porcupine from the red player. We're going to go ahead and start to fight it out on the plateau. Meanwhile, more units coming in for PaleRider. PaleRider's got 2 Zeus tanks and a couple hammers. And these Grenadiers are dishing out some good damage onto my hammers, but I've got a Cyclone to counter. More infantry coming in for the red player to support. Meanwhile, PaleRider is starting to hit the HQ now for the yellow player. So yellow's in danger now. Yellow trying to defend. My units now, meanwhile, moving slowly onto the red player's base. And PaleRider just doing a good job continuing to put pressure onto yellow. Red's forced to send Hawks over to assist yellow in the defense, which means I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit of a push here. Let's see what we can do here. Going to take out this sniper tower, and I'm also going to torrent down to put some fire down onto the entrance. Here come the Hawks though, and those Hawks are going to get some massive damage from those Typhoons, which is going to be very nice for me. We see a Hawk go down. Ground troops starting to pour in from the red player. Red's forced to respond to my pressure. And looks like Red's doing a good job responding to my pressure. I'm losing some ground units here. I do not have enough ground units to defend. Here comes PaleRider though, still putting pressure on the yellow player. And looks like I've done a good job at denying air support from the red player, but I don't quite have the ground troops to keep them pressing the assault. I'm going to have to go and retreat. I leave a Zeus and a Torrent behind just to provide some cover for my Typhoons. Vertex coming in for PaleRider, continuing to put pressure onto the yellow player. And PaleRider is just in full unit production mode here. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and start to produce some heavy assaults here to supplement my current troops. Just going to regroup at the front entrance of my base. And this is a nice position to defend for me because I have the production advantage. This is going to be no problem to clean up the ground troops from Red. Red does not have enough to make a full push on my base. Meanwhile, PaleRider continuing to press onto the yellow player's base, slowly but steadily chipping away at yellow's structures. We see an assault vehicle factory go down. That's going to cripple some of yellow's production. And I'm making another push here now onto the plateau. We've got a Dragonfly, Porcupine, and some Grenadiers. I've got heavy assaults, a couple Zeus tanks, and we see a Jaguar coming in for the red player. But I don't think this is going to be quite enough to make a push. PaleRider though doing a great job still putting that pressure on the yellow player. So yellow's not going to be able to come and assist for this defense here. So I'm slowly moving more ground troops onto the plateau. I got some heavy assaults and a torrent. PaleRider still pushing now onto the yellow player's base. Yellow's HQ is gone. Yellow is in big trouble right now. No more unit production for the yellow player. Yellow's only got a handful of sniper towers in the back of the base. That is not going to be enough to stop this army though. So Red's going to have to do something special if they want to come back. Here comes the Vertex. They're going to smash one of those sniper towers, and they're going to put some good damage onto that power plant. And yellow is now just down to 2 sniper towers and some infrastructure. No more factories or headquarters for yellow. This is good news for us, bad news for the yellow player. Meanwhile, my Torrent's going to put some pressure onto some infantry, and I've got a nice defensive line set up here with a good line of visual range. I'm not going to fully advance yet though. I just want to put some pressure onto the red player and make them feel like they got to keep their army at their base. And I'm going to wait for PaleRider to finish up with the yellow player. PaleRider has just finished cleaning up the yellow player's base and is now moving ground troops towards the red player's base. I'm going to go ahead now and move my troops forward. There's one Jaguar on the plateau. We're going to go ahead and take it out now. And we can see here that the red player has put some walls in an interesting formation. Looks like they're drawing a face with the walls, possibly a sad face, most likely because the red player knows that this is pretty much a good game. I'm going to go ahead and move my ground troops onto the red player. And we're now advancing into the heart of the red player's base. And we can see another airfield down for the red player. Looks like the red player is possibly attempting an aviation build. And we can confirm that there are 3 airfields and that red is HQ4. Definitely an aviation build. Red's got 9 Hawks out total. And Red's going to go ahead and send 8 of those Hawks over towards PaleRider's base. This is a last-ditch assault from the red player. PaleRider is going ahead and scramble his Vertex to fight the Hawks. The Hawks are heavily outnumbering the Vertex though. PaleRider doing what he can to fight these Hawks off. It's not going to matter though in the grand scheme of this battle. Both of our ground armies are moving on to the red player's base, and we are just going to proceed to demolish the rest of Red's base. We see some Hawks going down over the green player's base, over PaleRider's base, and this is the rest of us just kind of cleaning up the rest of Red's base and securing the victory. Alright, that's pretty much a good game for this battle. Hope you all enjoyed this relatively short battle. Shout out to PaleRider for doing a good job with doing sustained pressure onto the yellow player and giving us a tactical advantage over the two resistance players. Good luck in your battles, and we will see you in the next video.
Victory.